All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time zone you're in and what time you're looking at this presentation. This is really powerful, powerful information. And what makes it so powerful is that the moment a person sits next to us, because you were privileged at some point to sit next to a wellness coach who shared some information with you, and it just took 2 minutes. I know that blew your mind. It just took 2 minutes for you to hold that wand in your hand, and all of a sudden now we know basically what's going on in the cells of your body and what direction. And why do we want to know that? Because listen, there's some statistics that I hate to tell you about. In 2020, nearly 700,000 people died from heart disease in the United States. And for 25% of them, the first time they found out was when they died. And see, we need to know way before that. I don't want to go to the doctor or find myself on the stretcher, and then the doctor says you have heart disease, or the worst thing that could ever happen. And the reason I don't want that to happen, and you shouldn't want that to happen, is because 90% of heart disease is preventable. Everybody doesn't have to die of heart disease or have to confess that they have a heart condition. And then the other thing that's really depressing is that medical error. Do you know that a lot of people have been completely misdiagnosed? They've been told they had something. I heard a story, may have been last week, of a gentleman that they went to the doctor and they told him he had something, and then they messed up the files. They mixed up the files, and they ended up having it just because mentally they had taken on the thought process that they had what was misdiagnosed.
2/3 of adults are now overweight or obese, and we have an epidemic cascade of debilitating disease that's overcoming the country. There's no way we can sustain the current style of care with the epidemic that we're creating with our diet and lifestyle choices.
The diabetes, the arthritis, the heart disease, the dementia, the obesity, the cancers are affecting about 70% of deaths. All the data is that those 70% of deaths and morbidity are largely lifestyle related and preventable.
Most kids by age 10 in the US already have fatty streaks in their arteries, the first stage of atherosclerosis leading to heart attacks, strokes.
Here in American medicine, we operate from the disease model. We are in the business of treating sick people. We are not in the business of trying to prevent people from becoming sick.
When you look at chronic disease risk, all the things that we walk around worrying about, actually dietary choices trump smoking when it comes to those risks.
If I could deliver one message to the researchers who are looking for the cause of diabetes and the cause of clogged arteries and the cause of high blood pressure and the cause of obesity, I would tell them the answer's in 3 words. It's the food. It's what Americans are eating.
Now that makes it so simple. I mean, but we really don't, most of the time, really want to believe that. You know, we want to believe that the system that we live in really shouldn't be called healthcare. It should be called chronic care or sick care, because that's what they want. They want us sick. And so when you sat down to take that BioScan, it's important to us as wellness coaches because we're trying to create blue zones. Now, I know if you're like me, I had never heard of a blue zone, but there's 6 areas right now in the world that are blue zones where people eat far less animal meat, but they live longer than average. We're talking about over 100 years of old, from 90 over to 100 plus. But we only have one of those where we're talking about the masses of people that live to be over 100, or we have them sprinkled throughout the United States, one here and one there. But we're talking about where the whole community is over 100 years of age, and they're not being pushed in a wheelchair. They're not losing their cognition, not able to feed themselves. They are active, they are fishing, they are swimming, they are running, they're riding bicycles, they're going to movies, they're active people. So our problem, and when I say our problem, I'm talking about here in the United States, is that we're digging our graves with our fork. We've got too much animal protein. We're impairing our kidneys and organs and our cells, and that's what's contributing to faster aging, cancer, high heart disease, and obesity, especially in our community. Dr. Oz, he said, our genetics load the gun but our lifestyle pulls the trigger. There's not a time that I sit down with somebody and they'll tell me their history in their family, that their mother had a heart attack, their grandmother had a heart attack, or somebody is a diabetic and everybody else has been. So surely it's a part of their genetics. But let me tell you something. What's really a part of their genetics is that we eat the same way they ate. If they ate pork, we ate pork. If they ate fried foods, we eat fried foods. And that goes down, and that's what's genetic. So let's touch on, before I get into the actual bioscan that you took, the source of sickness and disease. There are 5 things we want to cover very, very quickly. The first one is the lack of oxygen. You're going to see in this bioscan areas where there is a lack of oxygen, which is contributing to disease, which is contributing to sickness. And how do we get that lack of oxygen? Because some things are in the way of the oxygen traveling, like plaque buildup, like mucus buildup. And so when the cell doesn't get oxygen, then we realize that that causes disease. Another is mucus and parasites, and I just said mucus. Mucus and parasites comes from a lot of different areas. I tell people you got too much mucus in your bloodstream and really you should stop eating so much dairy. And the first thing they think about is milk. But I'm telling you, there's so many other areas where we pick up mucus, even in cooked food, okay? And then parasites. If you've eaten any meat whatsoever in your lifetime, I'm not talking about what you did last night. I'm talking about what you've been doing from a teenager up until now. That's what the BioScan showed you. From a teenager up until now, you've got some parasites. Maybe some that you may never see manifest, but they're doing the damage inside of your intestines. They're eating up the nutrients. You're taking a good vitamin pill, and the parasites are saying, thank you, and they're eating it all up. A third thing is toxicity. Guys, we're getting toxins everywhere. Even when we step out of our house, the air that we breathe. But so many foods, so many things in a box, in a can, in a jar. Oh my God. And so that's why it's important for us to detox, because we're getting the toxins. And some of them, there's nothing we can do about them. But what we can do about them is to get the toxins out. Fourthly, deficiencies. Do you know that there are a lot of good vitamins in a lot of different foods? But you know what? Every time you heat them up on the stove, you take away many of those vitamins. You lessen the amount of vitamins that are in the foods that are even good for you. And we have so many symptoms that we experience because of the deficiency of certain vitamins. And then lastly, the acidic body. Now, either your body is alkaline or your body is acidic. And we're going to see in your BioScan report that you took that you're going to find out, is your body acidic or is your body alkaline? Why is that important? Because disease cannot dwell in an alkaline environment. So we want our body to be alkaline, and it does not just happen because you drink alkaline water. So now let's look at the report. Hopefully you have the report in your hand, or maybe you have the report on your phone, and you'll see these colors and these words and these columns. The first column is your testing item. It shows you every item that was being tested. The second area is a normal range of what we would like to be in. We want to be in this normal range with our numbers, right? And then the third one is your actual measurements. Yes, this was not a generic bioscan. This is personally based on who you are, based on your height, your weight, your date of birth, all that kind of stuff. So it's all about you. And then you see colors. And the colors are green, blue, yellow, and red. Now, you'll see that green is normal, blue is mildly abnormal, yellow is moderately abnormal, and red is severely. In other words, out of balance. I like to say it's mildly out of balance or moderately out of balance. Basically, it means you're going in the wrong direction or you're going in the right direction. If it's in the green, you're in the right direction. But we also see that there's some colors on the left and there's some colors on the right. Now, if they're on the right, you're going in the wrong direction because that means it's a decrease, meaning it's not as efficient or working as effectively as it should be. And if it's on the right, That's not good either, because that means it's overworking. It's just the wonderful way God has made our body to protect us and to keep us alive, because you will see something on the left and something else will be on the right to overcompensate for what was on the left, right? And that's God's way of, because we're so wonderfully made. But at the same time, through this bioscan, you're able to find out what in your body is overworking and what is your body is not working as efficiently as it should. Now, I'm really more concerned. I can live with greens and blues because, most of us are just getting started on this health journey. And if you got greens and blues, kudos to you. Pat yourself on the back. When we really need to make notice is yellows and reds, because guess what? Whatever it is now, it does not stay there unless it's in the green and you're doing the right things. But if it's in the blue and you don't change anything from what you see or what you learned today, it will keep progressing in that direction, because disease is progressive. Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. Even though you went to the doctor time and time again and he told you, oh, I'm sorry, you've got stage 4 cancer, but he never told you about stage 1, 2, and 3. That's the purpose of this bioscan, so that you can know before it becomes critical. So let's look at these two things that I'm going to pair some things together because they kind of go together. Blood viscosity and blood fat. Fatty tissues cause that blood viscosity. Well, what's blood viscosity? It means your blood is thicker than it should be. And it'll be over to the right in the blue, the yellow, or the red. If it's in the red, more than likely you're already on some kind of blood thinner. Just like when we have oil in our car. If you don't change the oil, it thickens and it becomes sludge. And all of a sudden now your car is not running like it should be. Well, the same thing happens with our body. We're not running because we got fat and toxins, we got excess food, and then all of a sudden we also see in addition high in cholesterol. Now, those fatty tissues and the blood viscosity, usually when one of them is over to the right, the other is over to the right as well, because one causes the other. So what do? We get rid of the toxins. We get rid of the fatty tissues. We get rid of the mucus and that's causing the blockage in the flow of blood that's causing the thickness to take place, right? We got to clean the blood. I mean, there's power in the blood, but we got to clean it up. And then that cholesterol, well, I'm sure many of you know, because if you are on cholesterol medicine, that's the first thing they give you when your cholesterol is up. They put you on statin. But I'm going to tell you, you can change your lifestyle. That's all you got to do. You got to stop eating cholesterol-rich foods. Okay, I hear you already saying something. You don't shoot the messenger. I know you love your bacon every single morning. Yeah, you can't pass by the donut place, the Shipley's, the Krispy Kreme, whatever you got in your area. And we love our chicken, French fries, mashed potatoes, all of that. I dare you to just Google cholesterol-rich foods. And I'm not saying you can never, ever have them, but I'm saying you've got to eat them in moderation. You've got to slow your roll. And if you're in the red, I'm going to tell you, you got to stop. Okay? You got to get this thing back before you can even have one of them. So we want to make sure we understand. Take a look at your report. Where are you? It'll be on the right with those 3 items. Are you in the blue? Are you in the yellow? Or are you in the red? And I'm going to say it again. If you're in the red, we've got to address it very quickly. Then we've got vascular resistance. Now, vascular means the blood vessel. Resistance means there's a blockage. So if we see this over to the right, your heart, this is about the heart and the brain. This whole report is about the heart and the brain. Right now, we're dealing with the heart. This means that your heart is having to really work hard because there's resistance in that blood vessel. And usually, when a person's in the yellow, definitely in the red, they're already on blood pressure medicine. Because see, when you understand about blood pressure, and I know the doctor probably never told you that. He just told you have high blood pressure, like he tells so many of us in our culture. But did he ever tell you how you got it? No, I know he didn't. There's plaque buildup around the walls of your blood vessel. See, that first circle is a perfect blood vessel, blood flowing. The second one, a little bit of plaque, that's that mild. Then you got moderate, right? Then you got severe, blocked. So the question I ask, how much blood does it take to get through that first one? Do you think it takes about the same amount of blood to get through the last one or the third one? People usually tell me no, it probably takes more. But the answer is no, it doesn't take more. It takes the same amount. But now that same amount is having a harder time getting through. And so, because it's having a harder time getting through, it raises the blood pressure because it's got to push harder to get through because of the plaque buildup. So, is the solution to take the medication that puts a band aid on it and silences the alarm, or is the solution to remove the plaque? Duh. Doesn't it make sense just to remove the plaque, right? So we don't want the blocked artery because guess what that is? That's a heart attack or a stroke. So we got to change what we do. We change what we eat. We got to change our lifestyle. We got to take out some of the foods that are causing that plaque buildup. So then that vascular resistance is crucially important. But not everyone that has it to the right, it's not always blood pressure. It could also be stress. Oh, because I ask people all the time, have you ever had a blood pressure problem? They'll say no. I say, well, how's the stress in your life? And guess what they tell me? Oh, yeah, I'm stressed. My job got me stressed. My marriage got me stressed. These kids got me stressed. Whatever it is, I'm telling you, they'll look over your casket one day and say, oh, she was just a good old girl, right? No, we don't need that. Get the stress off your life. I tell people, get a picture of the Bahamas and put it up, get in the bathtub and quack like a duck. Do something to get the stress. Watch comedies and laugh, because scripture says the laughter does good like medicine. Anything you can to be stress free. Ain't nobody that important, guys, for you to be stressed out. So we got to get that out of our lives. Now, look over to the left and you'll see three arrows. One says vascular elasticity, coronary artery elasticity, and cerebral blood vessel elasticity. Elasticity means that that blood vessel is supposed to be elastic like a rubber band. So if it's on the left, meaning it's deficient, it's not functioning like it should be. It's starting to harden instead of being elastic. How many of you heard the terminology hardening of the arteries? Yes. So when you see what we look at here on the right-hand side, plaque is building up and it's causing that elastic blood vessel to harden. And then the third one, if it hardens too much, it breaks. And that's called a heart attack or a stroke because it's broken now. And so what's the solution again? Not the medication. That's not the solution. That's dealing with the symptom. The solution is to get rid of the plaque. Get rid of the plaque. And that's what we teach you how to do. That's why you connect with our wellness coaches so we can teach you and walk you through the method of getting rid of the plaque, lessening that plaque. Over time, this is not a slam bam, thank you, ma'am. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens over time. Because after you start moving in the program to help you get rid of this plaque, we'll do another BioScan at some point, maybe a year later, and we want to see those numbers improve, right? So vascular, coronary, and cerebral. So what's the difference? Vascular means around the heart, coronary means on the heart, and cerebral means on the brain. Either way, all three places we have plaque building up, causing that blood vessel to not be as elastic as it should be. So now it's got to work harder because it's deficient. It's blocking everything, right? And so now we've got myocardial blood demand. Blood demand. Every 60 seconds, the heart demands a certain amount of blood to cause your heart to function properly. Have you noticed how your heart beats faster when you're working and when you're walking, when you're running, when you're doing any kind of exercise? That's because that's what you need to do. Because see, the heart is saying, whoa, what you doing? I ain't climbed no stairs in the last 20 years. So now stairs will let you know where you are. And then sometimes we feel that pain, right? So that because in that certain amount of volume is having a difficult time, so it's having to work harder to do so. You're out of breath, okay? So now we've got to make sure that we put the exercise in to cause it to become easier over time. Then we've got the blood perfusion volume. There's a certain volume of blood that has to come through as well as a certain amount of blood. And when it's not functioning properly, it's over on the left-hand side. It's deficient. You're not getting as much of the volume because of the blockage. We got a blocked coronary artery. So the blood flow is not as properly efficient or at its optimum blood flow as it should be. And then we got oxygen consumption. Every time you see that word myocardial, yeah, you know that's the heart. That's the heart. And perfusion means the oxygen, related to the oxygen. So this is the oxygen consumption. Guess what? Every time your heart beats, a certain amount of blood comes through. Every time the heart contracts, a certain amount of blood comes through. And if you've got blockages, it's got to overwork. See, some of y'all are wondering why you keep grabbing your chest. Yeah, this is why. This is why. And then we got stroke volume. Now, never fear. If your stroke volume is on the blue or the yellow, or especially the red, it does not mean you're about to have a stroke. What it means is you're not stroking as well as you should be. Every time the heart beats, that's called a stroke. 1 stroke, 2 stroke, 3 strokes. It's the heartbeat. And so if you're not stroking like you should be, well, I got an easy fix for you. It's exercise, some kind of exercise. Don't tell me I don't have time. I don't have this. My knees are bad. My back is bad. Let me tell you something. Get on YouTube, cut on a video with people sitting down in a chair and exercise. Put some movement. Stop, let's stop calling it exercise. Let's say movement. Can we do some movement? Every single day, you ought to have some movement. We're couch potatoes. We're sitting in our chairs in front of our computers. The kids, when I was a kid, you couldn't wait to get outside to play kickball and run races and all kind of stuff, football in the fields and stuff. Not today. So we've got to get out and we've got to have some movement, even if it's movement in your home. And that will help that stroke volume because it should be beating a certain amount of time. And then the left ventricular ejection impedance. Well, somebody just told me the other day they're starting to deal with varicose veins. Why is that? Because the left ventricle is responsible for sending blood down to the other areas of your body, like your legs. See, it's the red side, that left side, where it's going all the way down to the legs. You starting to deal with numbness and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's because there's blockage. Blockage, plaque buildup. We talked about the mucus, the oxygen's not getting down there. All of those things we previously talked about, that's what's happening in those areas. And then we've got the coronary perfusion pressure. What did I tell you perfusion stood for? Oxygen. So oxygen from the coronary. Coronary means the heart, directly from the heart. Now you don't have enough pressure because you only have a limited amount of space in the arteries. And so we want to make sure we clean these areas up, clear these passages up from the plaque buildup and the mucus buildup and the toxins. And then finally, the last 2 things on this particular report, everything else was heart, but the last 2 are brain, the cerebral blood vessel, which I already talked about, and the brain tissue blood supply status. That's the brain. So hopefully you're in the green there. So don't let nobody tell you ain't nothing wrong with your brain. But if you're in the blue, the yellow, or the red, there's a problem going on. And they're clots, those clots on the brain is what lead to strokes and aneurysms. How many times have we seen people talk to them on the phone and the next day they either had a stroke or an aneurysm and they looked like on the outside the picture of health? And that's why this report is so important, because it has nothing to do with how you look on the outside, but it has everything to do with what your cells look like. They taught you about cells back in the day in school in biology. Y'all went to sleep that day, I understand. But it has everything to do with what's going on in our cells, and that's why this report is so important. Now, the second report that they probably took with you had to do with your gastrointestinal function. That's the whole gut area. Why is this important? Because let me tell you something. This is the central area where everything takes place. And if our gut is messed up, this is why people were on ventilators during COVID, because their immune system was compromised. Your gut is in control 75% of your immune system. So this report gives us 5 different items, and some of them are kind of repetitive. But pepsin. Pepsin is the first one. Pepsin secretion coefficient. Let's look at your report. Where are you? In the blue, the yellow, or the red? Hopefully you're in the green, but most people I give a scan to, they're in the yellow or the red. Because if we've not been taking care of ourselves nutritionally, we didn't know any better. And we didn't even know what pepsin was. What is pepsin? I call it your chewer. Yeah. Number one, we eat fast. And number one, we don't chew it enough. You eat a piece of apple and you don't chew it down till you can't, till it's mashed. You breaking it down. So now who's got to chew it? Because, how is it going to get through your intestines? You eat a piece of meat, you eat big old chunks of meat. How is it go? The chewer called pepsin is the one that has to ingest it and break it down into smaller pieces. But over time, if you make me work like that over time, I'm going to tell you I'm tired. And that's what pepsin does. Pepsin says, I'm tired. I'm tired of chewing your food for you, right? And when it does that, that lack of breaking it down then puts a stress on your kidneys. So I can almost go to your kidney report right now if I saw this in the yellow or the red and see we already have a kidney problem because this has been happening, I'm going to say it again, over time, not overnight. Many times it's because of our lack of knowledge. That's why we do this. That's why we sit next to you, because we want you to understand even how we should be eating. Do you know that any animal, whether it's beef, chicken, pork, turkey, I don't care what it is, whichever animal it is, if their temperature, their normal body temperature is higher than ours, then the body has to work harder to break down the protein and the oils in that animal to digest in your body. So when it can't break it down or when it takes a long time, it stays in the body. And now it's sitting in your gut. And now it stores what we call waste. See, you're worried about WEIGHT. I'm worried about WASTE. Do you understand that the cow, we love the cow, right? We love all the meats that we get from the cow. Some of y'all eat every piece of the cow, from the head to the tail to the feet, okay? But their body temperature is higher than yours. So now your body has to work harder. Oh my God, we love some pig. You see, I don't want to say you love pig, but you love your pork chops, okay? You love your pork sausage, but their body temperature is higher than ours. The turkey. Now do you understand why we go to sleep after Thanksgiving dinner? Because that turkey's body temperature is much higher than our normal body temperature, 98.6. That's what ours is. And the old chicken. Don't shoot the messenger, y'all. Don't stop getting upset. But yet, the chicken, it would be better if we did the chicken without the skin. But let's talk about the fried chicken. That takes it even higher, guys. So that's why we're having a difficult time with our digestion, because it's taken a while for our body to catch up. And the fish, that's the fish, the salmon, stuff that comes from the water, their body temperature is lower than ours. Watch that. And that's why a lot of people will end up being pescatarians if they choose to do something a little more intense. And it's because their body temperature is lower than our normal body temperature. All right. Now that's the pepsin. Now let's look at gastric peristalsis. That word peristalsis. It's responsible, and look at your results. Are they in the blue, the yellow, or the red? Where are you as it functions with that coefficient? Because if you're in the blue or the yellow or the red, it means that muscle is not moving food to your anus to go to the bathroom. You're not having bowel movements as often as you should, because that muscle has been pushing and trying to get that food through your body for so long, and it says, I'm tired. I'm not going to do it anymore. So now the food sits there, and now you're constipated, and now you're saying, I haven't had a bowel movement in a whole week, or I'm going every other week, or I'm going every other day, when you should be going every single time you eat. Yeah. So it's contracting. It's supposed to contract the same way it does when you take a toothpaste. It gets down to the little part and you start rolling it up because you don't want to get, you want every bit of it. But here's what's happening. Our peristalsis is no longer pushing like that. So now we're constipated and having bowel problems. And then we have that's the peristalsis. And then we also have our absorption, gastric absorption. See, here's the thing. Because of the undigested food in our body, food starts sitting there and rotting. And when it gets in the way, you could be taking vitamins, and now you're getting no results from them because they're not being absorbed. it's only a certain amount of space there, right? And if they can't get through to even get to the nutrients, to get the nutrients to your bloodstream, to get to your heart, to get through your kidneys, because it's not being absorbed. So it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb. And so many things we're not absorbing. And you'll take a look at your chart and your report, and you'll see exactly how well you're absorbing your food. Mucus hinders us from absorbing. And mucus can come from meat, it can come from dairy, and it can come from cooked food. See, not just milk. Okay, I'm gonna say the hard C word, cheese. Some of us love our cheese. We eat our cheese by itself. We eat our cheese with everything, macaroni and cheese. We got lasagna loaded with cheese, and don't understand the damage it's doing to our body, to our heart, to our gut over time. It hinders the nutrients to get through the bloodstream. And that's causing a lot of allergies, a lot of colds. Some people are, well, girl, it's my allergy season. No, your allergy season is in the pot that you just fixed. Your allergy season is in the what just went in your mouth. I promise you, if you take out dairy, so many allergies and the colds that you catch every year at a certain time, and the deficiencies would not even be in existence. Well, I have to be real. This is the typical barbecue plate. This is barbecue season, and this is the typical plate. I live in Texas, and we love the full meat plate. We don't want just one. We want the ribs, the chicken. Yeah, we want the sausage, all of that. I don't see a vegetable on the plate at all. So here's my challenge to you. If you're gonna do it, let's get one meat maybe, and then come on, put some raw around that plate. Put some vegetables around that plate. Give me a 70-30, 80-20. 80 being the fruits and vegetables, and the 20 being your meat, if you're going to do meat. Okay? And then we got repeating peristalsis and absorption, but now we're talking about the small intestine. See, it's not just about the gut, about the stomach area, but then we got the small intestines inside. The small intestines are responsible for helping to absorb the nutrients from your food. But if it's not functioning, if the peristalsis is not moving it through, if you're not absorbing it because the waste buildup, then it doesn't do any good. And then the large intestines, that's the next report that's there that you should have taken. And you should have a picture of that, or maybe you printed it out. And when we look at the colon, the large intestines, realizing that the colon basically is a quarter length of the size of a football field that's all wrapped up and crowded inside your little body, or whatever size body you got, right? But it's there. It's not it's not spread out. So it's got to move and twist and turn. And because most of us are not in a position where we have where we're not, the peristalsis is not moving, the absorption is not as efficient as it should be, and we have some intestinal bacteria that's causing the feelings that we're going through in our body. We're just feeling bloated. We're just feeling, nauseous, all this stuff related to your large intestines. Bacteria. There's some good bacteria though, but a lot of us, because of what we eat, we get the bad bacteria. So on the scale, what are we getting most of? Good bacteria or bad bacteria? Well, in case you don't know what the bad bacteria is, it's called crap. It's the carbonated drinks. It's the refined sugars. They're everywhere. It's the artificial foods. They're everywhere. Every center aisle that you go into the store, there's an artificial food. If it's in a box, if it's in a jar, if it's in a can, if it's in a package, it's artificial. Artificial foods, artificial flavorings, they're killing us. They don't care about our health. They're killing us, and we're letting them do it. The processed foods. I'm telling you, it's processed because they keep it processed so it can stay on the shelf so you can keep buying it. Okay? They've added things to it. I'm a French fry connoisseur, and when I found out that McDonald's fries had 16 or 18, I can't remember now, 16 or 18 ingredients in the French fries, that's what helped me to get off of them, because my car would just, go to McDonald's. But it doesn't take that many ingredients to make a French fry. I can go buy a potato, season it, and put it in the oil, and I got a French fry. What other 13 ingredients do I need to keep it yellow, to keep it sustained? No. say processed. So we gotta stop eating crap and start eating. Add to your diet, put something on your plate that looks like it's got some color to it. Yeah, look like some nuts. Snacking on everything else but a nut. We need grains. We need all of these things added to our diet. We need the vegetables, the green leafy vegetables, to help our colon, to help our entire body. And then intraluminal pressure. It puts pressure on the walls because when you get so much waste, I mean, it's like going to the bathroom day after day after day and having bowel movements, filling up the toilet. I'm going to give you this visual and never flushing. Now, I'm going to let you feel that just for a minute. That pressure against moves that stool through the intestines. And sometimes you have excessive pressure, and then that results in constipation, the irritable bowel syndrome, or inadequate pressure turns into diarrhea and incomplete evacuation. You're just up all night. But it's partly because we don't understand about digestion. Nobody teaches us this in school about digestion. Number one, according to the Mayo Clinic, after you eat, it takes about 6 to 8 hours for food to pass through your stomach and your small intestines. 6 to 8 hours, okay? Then it enters the large intestines for further digestion, for absorption of water, and finally, for elimination of the undigested food. So it takes about 36 hours total for food to move through the entire colon. Who waits 36 hours before they eat again? So I'm saying it's packed and it's packed and it's packed and it's packed and it's packed. And a lot of times we've got 10 to 12 pounds of waste sitting in our gut because we've not been taught even how to eat. We eat quick, we eat fast, and we don't give food time to digest. There are other countries, they say we eat too fast. They take 2 hours for lunch. Well, maybe you can't do that, right? But we eat on the go, we eat standing, we don't even sit down, and we don't understand how food works. So for instance, if you had a plate, and let's say you had some oranges just to make it look really good sitting on your plate. Well, it takes 30 minutes to digest them, right? But then you had some salad and it takes about 40 minutes to eat the tomatoes and the cucumbers and stuff. And so your digestive tract says, hold up, this lettuce and stuff takes a little longer. So orange, you've got to wait. But then after you eat a few tablespoons of that salad, then you go on and you start eating some vegetables and some carrots or whatever it is, maybe some rice and or potatoes. And now your digestive tract says, oh, hold up, orange, hold up, salad. Rice is here, potatoes are here. And it takes longer for that to digest. So y'all got to wait till I start working on this. And then we eat a couple of tablespoons of that, and all of a sudden we start eating some steak or some chicken or some pork chop or something. And guess what? Your digestive tract says, sorry, can't work on the potatoes right now. Chicken is in the house. And now everything else is waiting. And over time, by the time you get to digesting that chicken and everything else is on hold, you've got waste developing. As a matter of fact, the fruit starts fermenting, and now you got bad breath because it stinks. Yep. Next report, liver. This thing right here, this little liver does so much damage to our lives when it's not functioning at its optimum. So that's why I'm attacking this first, even though there are 4 others before it. I need you to look on your report. Where is your liver function? A lot of times it's in the red. A lot of people, so many people that I do bioscans for, they're in the red because they have what's called fatty liver disease. Well, what's the job of the liver? Same thing as the job of a filter, your oil filter. You can go and get your oil changed or change it yourself. That's great. But that's not the only thing you change. You change the filter. And when you change the filter, the reason is because if you change the oil and did not change the filter, you would still have what? Dirty oil. Okay? So we got to change the filter. Well, that's your liver. And I'm not asking you to change the liver. I'm saying we need to cleanse the liver. We got to detox the liver. We got to clean it up so that the blood is no longer dirty blood. Because when the filter is dirty, the blood is dirty. And then we see other things happening like fatty liver disease. Now, I know you've thought that cirrhosis is only for those people who are alcoholics, but there is fatty liver disease, which is non-alcoholic, and it's potentially as fatal as having a bottle of vodka every single day, right? You cannot be an alcoholic and still have fatty liver disease because it's progressive. It goes from a healthy liver to a fatty liver to fibrosis of the liver to cirrhosis of the liver, but we can reverse it. And let me mention that again. Everything we've been talking about that's in your report is reversible. So this is not sad news. This is not gloom and despair. No. This is good news because if you didn't know what you know now as a result of that 2 minutes that you set with that wonderful wellness coach who cared enough about you to share this information, then we'd have a sad story. But no, we know now, so we can do something about it. Okay. Then bile secretion. That's a part of the liver. We need bile in our lives. Here in the United States, we don't get enough bile. You know why? Because it's bitter. See, bile is a secretion from the liver that aids in digestion. And in humans, bile is produced in the liver, stored in the gallbladder. But we don't like the bitter stuff that creates that bile. Yeah, the apple cider vinegar, lemon tea. Some people sit down at the restaurant and they order water. Can you bring me some lemons, please? Because you're putting that lemons that help you with your body being acidic to become more alkaline. The celeries, the bitter herbs, and the veggies. We even have a bitter tea, the warm spices, all that stuff we don't like. We live in a country, I'm that person, we like it sweet. But now the more you change and you add more bitters, listen, your taste buds begin to awaken. And now you say, oh, it's not as bitter as it used to be. Since I've been on this journey, things that are sweet that used to be sweet are really sweet now. Things that are salty become really salty. I mean, everything just exemplifies. So that's why we need bile in our lives. And then we also need the protein metabolism, the energy production, and the detoxification function. All these are related to how well your liver is functioning. In this example, it's in the green, so that's great. But in many of your examples, it'll be on the left-hand side in the blue, the yellow, or the red. So we've got to cleanse our liver. We must detox the liver. And then our kidney. We talked about earlier about the kidney, that once we have situations going on in the heart, or it puts stress on the liver. And we've got an index, a UB index, a uric acid index, and a BUN index. All of these are basically saying, how well is your kidney functioning? And you've got to understand that, especially that uric acid, if a person's uric acid is in the red, more than likely they have already experienced gout, because uric acid breaks down especially when you're a meat eater, and it gets hard, and that gets into your joints. And I hear that that's very, very painful. And then proteinuria. That means you've got too much protein. You've probably gotten it from the animal. You didn't get it from the natural things in life. You got it from that animal, from that pig, the cow, the chicken. Yeah. As soon as I say that, people say, all I do is chicken. Well, you can get proteinuria from the chicken. We told you what the temperature of the chicken is, okay? And then when you don't know your blood type, you also end up doing things you should not do. But then that protein bleeds over into the urine. And now we start the stages of kidney disease. I'm disturbed every time I hear somebody that I'm on dialysis. Well, did you know what got you there? See, there are stages. Nobody gets on dialysis at the beginning. It's progressive. And so I need to know, based on this beautiful BioScan, that where I am in that respect, so I won't find myself on dialysis, right? So now we know regarding the kidney, because that gout, the kidney stones, the kidney failure, all that's progressive, but it's reversible. And that's why we said earlier, even in your gut, pepsin stops working, peristalsis stops working, makes the kidney overwork. Now that protein gets into the urine. And then you got to be on a man-made device. That's all dialysis is, a man-made filtration system, because your kidney, our kidney, is no longer functioning like it should be. Last but not least, the last report that you looked at had pH. And they probably showed you that when you took a picture of that one, but maybe you didn't understand what that was all about. That's about your body being acidic or being alkaline. Okay, have you ever heard that before? Maybe no, maybe so, maybe not. Here's my way of explaining it. Duracell, Everready, any battery, it's called alkaline battery. And when you put that battery in your devices, back in the day, we put them in a boom box with big old D batteries, right? And it would play and it would play and it would play and it would play and it would play. Yeah, that would happen, right? Because now the battery is getting low. But the battery was losing its alkalinity. Same thing happens in our body. We lose our alkalinity based on our diet, based on toxins, and based on stress. Yeah, stress is a killer. Okay. So we don't want to lose our alkalinity. We want to stay alkaline, but most of us have acidic bodies. And if you notice in this report, the pH, that's that area, there's no blue or yellow. It's just either is or it ain't. I'm going to say it just like that. You either are alkaline or you're acidic. You might be on the borderline. And people say, oh, I drink alkaline water. But it's about alkaline foods, not just water. See, we need to be on this right side of this chart. This is a pH spectrum chart. But a lot of times we are living on the left side in the 3, 4, 5, and 6 arena when we should be living more on the 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, or 10 area of this spectrum. So take a look at your diet, take a look at your lifestyle, and I want you to recognize where you need to be. Remember I said about the 80-20? I need you 80% on the right side and a little 20% over there. It's not what you do sometime, it's what you do all of the time. Because our job is to recharge our battery. God made this body, wonderfully made. But we've got to detox and become more alkaline. We're the ones that have done the damage. So it's about flushing. Flush your body with a cleanse and get the toxins and the mucus out and the waste, the parasites and the plant. Let's get it out. Take some time to rest your body. Juicing and fruits and vegetables, all these things help you to flush your body. And this is all this is a warning sign. Now you can watch and you can look at this, listen to this video, look at your BioScan and absolutely do nothing. But as I live in Houston, when a tornado is on the way, there's a warning. When a hurricane is on the way, there's a warning. And most of us, we heed to the warning. We pack up. We put boards on the roof, on the windows and the doors and everything. Some of us leave town. What am I saying? The BioScan gives us the warning before it becomes critical. Instead of you going to the doctor and he says, you got this and you got that. And those 6 areas that I just touched on are just the edge of it. There's so many other things that this BioScan that only took you 2 minutes can reveal. And you want to know. People tell me, I don't want to know. No, you want to know. What you don't want to know is that you've got something that you could have done about. You've got something that you could have reversed in the opposite direction. So there are 45 areas. And if you did not get this full report, please get back with the person who invited you, the person who sat next to you and did your BioScan report and say, I need the full report. Because you need to know about your gallbladder, your blood sugar, your vitamin deficiency, the allergies, your skin. I mean, these are just a few areas. If you're a woman, you need to know about your breast. If you're a man, you need to know about your prostate. You don't need to be going to the doctor and saying you've got prostate cancer when you could have done something about it. We got too many people dying of these things when all they had to do was take 2 minutes out of their time, get a BioScan report, and get the whole report. And then learn about your blood type. It matters what your blood type is. If you're an A, a B, an AB, or an O. Not just it matters to give the blood, but there are certain foods that are against your blood type, and you're eating in the blind because one person's food is another man's toxin, because your blood type is a more reliable measure of your identity than your race, your culture, your geography. It's a genetic blueprint for who you are and a guide to how you can live most healthfully. So you can get a blood type kit. Some people say, I'll go to my doctor. Well, don't pay that kind of money. Just get a blood type kit. In 5 minutes, you can personally yourself know your blood type. And then you can learn what foods are really against your blood type. So a detox. Talk to your wellness coach, talk to that person who gave you that BioScan, and find out, because it's an opportunity to give your body a break and allow your own self-cleansing, self-healing processes to kick into gear. Guess what, guys? God made our body to heal itself. And that's the process we want to take place in our lives. So thank you for taking time to watch and to listen to this analysis of your report. And we hope that you will definitely get the entire report if you didn't already.